Boys and girls, you know we've been working on reading in our book clubs and learning about characters. And today we're going to start something a little bit different. I wanted to show you a painting that I like. This painting is called A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte, and it's by an artist named Seurat. Okay? Can you just look at this and tell me what you're noticing about it? What's happening in this? Where are these people at, and what's going on here in this painting? What are you noticing? Gavin, or Gage?
Well, there's two ways that this could go. Maybe that it rains a lot and they have umbrellas, or that's just like what the ladies do there.
Oh, interesting. He said, well, it could either rain a lot and that's why they have umbrellas, or maybe that's just what the ladies do there. So that's a good question, isn't it? What else do you notice about it, James?
Possibly if they may be doing that in case they don't like the sun in their eyes, put umbrellas, because that does block the sun out a little bit.
I think you're right, James. I think they're doing it because they don't like the sun in their eyes. Where are they at? And who do you see here? Tell me more. Push yourself. Tell me more. What do you notice?
I think it might be like in the old-fashioned days because everybody's like fancy.
Wow, you're really noticing something. Yeah, they're dressed differently, aren't they? What else, Emily?
That it looks like it's in the summertime since they have umbrellas and since we don't see any rain, and then we see some people don't have any clothes on, and since the umbrellas are there, they're keeping the sun better for us, and then usually the sun's at summertime.
Wow, I feel like I'm starting to, there's like a whole story here, isn't there, in this painting? What else are you noticing, Allie?
Maybe they're there to watch the boats.
Oh, maybe they're there to watch the boats. Do you see these men rowing back here in this boat? There are so many things happening here, aren't there? Maybe there's a boat contest. Maybe. How about two more things that you can notice? Piper, what do you notice?
I see a pool.
Right here? You see the water? Yeah, that's like a little lake that they're on. Etienne, one more.
It could be like a beach, so then if they're hot, then they might put umbrella.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, boys and girls, you might be thinking to yourself, why is Miss Snape talking to us about paintings right now? You might, no, thank you, James. But what I was thinking about over the weekend is painters paint a picture using paint or markers or pens, and they really put a lot of details into it. Can you believe that this is a special technique called pointillism, where the painter of this actually just used little dots, just tiny little dots. This is all created from tiny little dots. So he created this beautiful picture and put it all together using his artistic ability. But I think that writers and authors are like artists too. But I just think they paint their pictures using words. Do you remember when we've talked about all the different ways writers use words to help show us what's happening? Yeah. Well, today I want to teach you that writers do lots of different things that help us understand what's happening in the book. And they do that because they want you to be able to understand the characters better, understand the plot better, understand the beginning and the middle and the end better. So they really try to paint as beautiful as a picture as they can, but they just do it with words instead of with paint like Seurat did. Okay. I have a new text we're going to start using today. I think you guys are going to be excited about it too. Yeah.
I read that.
Polar Bears Past Bedtime is the text that we're going to start using today. Let's read a few pages of this and see if we can notice what is the author doing to paint this picture for me about what's happening, okay? So I really want you to be listening. I really want you to try to notice what the author is doing here. Okay. I did something too. Look what I did.
You covered the picture?
I covered the picture because I want the author to do all the work for you this time. Okay?
Why is there so many?
Okay.
sticky notes?
Whoo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put his glasses. Then he grabbed the flashlight from his table and shone it out the window. A white, snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Whoo! The owl said again. I don't know about you guys, but right now, I don't even need this picture. I already have an idea of what is happening and what it looks like. I don't want, we're not going to talk about it quite yet. Keep it in your head. What did the author do here? So be thinking, I'm going to read this next part, and I really want you to give me some great ideas about what the author did to really paint this picture for us here. Let's keep going. Its large, yellow eyes looked right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign like the rabbit and the gazelle? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the magic treehouse for their last 2 adventures. Whoo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Do you have a movie going on in your head right now? Thinking about what that looks like? Yeah. Jack shook her and she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan's sent another sign. Talk to the people around you about how did this author paint pictures with the words that they're using? What did they do specifically that you noticed? Talk to your neighbors.
They kind of made explaining
How? What helped you to do that?
So then you can kind of picture the picture in your head. Because it explained, the author,
Do you remember any special words that helped?
explained it really well so we can picture it in our head.
What parts of that really showed you, what words really helped you notice what was happening?
So that's
Do you think that when an author does that, that really gives you a clear picture in your head?
Like if it tells you about what's happening, most magic
And you had a connection with
and
that?
that's what you so that
Here, what are you guys noticing? So like that part where he actually gets up and goes someplace, that helped you to kind of see what was happening. So do you think when an author uses like small movements or tells us what a character is doing, that helps us to know what's happening?
Okay, let's knock it off.
Okay. I heard some really, really good ideas. Really good ideas about what the author was doing that helped you guys create that movie in your head. Okay? What did you come up with? What were some of the things that you thought of? What did you think of? Allie, what were you thinking? Pete, can I move this a little bit? Thank you. What did you and Emily talk about?
That you don't need a picture. You can just picture it on your head, like make a movie off.
Yep, but how does the author help us to do that? What does the author have to do What does the author have to do to really help us make that movie though? I was talking with Abby and she had a really good idea. What did you notice right away? She noticed the whoo sound. Put your thumb up if that's something you noticed. Yeah, when an author uses those sound words, it helped Olivia make a connection to a time she was at a zoo, and so she could really picture what that whoo sound looked like. So let's put that. So let's put that on our anchor chart today. We're gonna. Do you think the best way to say that is just use sound words?
Yeah.
Use sound words. Okay.
So put the word with stop.
And then we'll even put here as a reminder to you guys that in this book it was the word. Look at my connection level. Okay. All right. What else, Paige?
Like it told us like what the owl looked like it had yellow eyes. It looked straight at Jack with yellow eyes.
How many of you noticed that? Those descriptive words. It looked straight at Jack. It had yellow eyes. I bet when you pictured it in your movie, it had yellow eyes then, didn't it? And it was looking straight at him. So descriptive language. Erin, what was that conversation that you and I had?
That you don't need the pictures because you could hear that Jack was going to get him.
Yeah, he was saying I was picturing Jack getting up to go get his sister. And oftentimes authors do use those small movements. Like they tell us what people are doing at that moment. If I was trying to make a picture right now of what's happening in this classroom, I might be able to point out some of the small things that you guys are doing right now. Some people are sitting crisscross applesauce. Some people might have one knee up or playing with a shoe. But I would tell specific things that would help people to picture it. So they use those small movements. It says in here, in Polar Bears Past Bedtime, it said, Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. Now, in my house, that would be about 3 steps to the next bedroom. So he wasn't going very far, was he? Probably not. So, but telling us that he got up, he went to his sister's room, telling us about those small movements really makes that picture clear in our head. Okay? Did it say Jack got up and hurried?
Oh, Jack got up and ran. Jack.
Well, we'll look. We'll look. Oh, I totally missed it, guys. Jack jumped out of bed. That's why I'm not an author. Jumped out of bed. It tells us kind of exactly what's happening there. Okay. Hey, how about this part right here, friends? The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The author tells me that right there, the strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. I already know what Jack is doing. How many of you knew that Jack was asleep? Just by that part right there. The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. Put your thumb up. Did you know he was sleeping? But wait a second. Mary Pope Osborne didn't say Jack was sleeping in his bed. So did that help that she was describing the setting? She was describing where this was happening, where this was taking place, the little movements that he was doing. Yeah. So let's add that. That it's always helpful to describe the setting of where something is happening. I bet you guys remember that from way back in Owl Moon. Describe the setting. Is there anything else you'd like me to add up there? Any other parts of this? What about this part? What special thing does the author do here? Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her and she stirred. "What?" she said. "Come to my room," whispered Jack. "I think Morgan's sent another sign." What was happening there, Erin?
That she was asleep and then she woke up and Jack, kicked her.
Yeah, do you think that kind of goes with this idea of small movements? That word stirred. What about their conversation? Do you think their conversation helps us to understand what's happening? Yeah, those conversations push us to understand. He's standing by her bed. Can you imagine him over her, shaking her, going, "Come to my room," right? Like shaking her. So our conversations can help us. Friends, you might be thinking, wow, okay, this sounds really familiar. It sounds kind of like when we were talking about all of the craft moves that authors do that we could try out in our writing. You remember that? We were talking about descriptive words and using sound words and all of that. And we were going to try those in our small moment stories. The reason that we're looking at this now is because when we notice all of these things that are happening in a book, it helps us to understand better the characters, the events that are happening. Okay? So today, when you're reading, I want you to be looking for these things in your book. Okay? I want you to start with your book club book. All right? So you're going to start reading your book club book, and you're going to be searching for these things that you're noticing. I want you to make sure to sticky note those and write notes on it if you need to so that you can share that with your book club a little bit later. Okay? Make sure that you're reading your book club book, so that you and your book club friends can kind of stay together. So if you're a little behind, read a little bit more today. Push yourself through book club book a little bit, and then you can do your choice reading. But even when you're doing your choice reading, make sure you're looking for these things. Okay? When we notice these things, it helps us understand our books better. And that's what we're trying to do. Okay? So if you do not have sticky notes, I don't want you to leave the carpet without them today because I don't want you to take any time to try to have to find any of those. Do you need sticky notes, sir? Because I wasn't there and they were on a trip. So, okay, perfect. Can you read your book to me? You're ready? Okay. Can you use kind of what's happening in the story to decide what that word might mean? He said, "I despise science, even more than I despise lions." A tricky word, but what might it mean? Maybe we need to go back and look. It doesn't say on the page before. Victorious squealing. I love science. She says right here, I won the class speech contest, the essay award, and a spelling bee. I'm the smartest kid in 3rd grade. especially Magic Treehouse, because it's got the same two characters in it, so you can really learn about the characters. Across the books, you're gonna have the same types of examples. I think that would be fine. I think that would be just fine. Okay, do you guys know what your job is today, though, when you're reading?
Yeah. We have to talk about how words act like the pigeons. Yeah. And how you can notice why.
Okay, you're gonna be noticing what the author was doing.
You can picture it.
Yep, okay, good. Sounds like you're ready to work. Look and look at, how do authors paint pictures with words? What's something we're gonna look for, Olivia? What's something that you notice that we could look for? Use sound words. What's something else we could look for, James? Do you remember? If you don't know, they're right there.
Words that help us understand and sing is like words that like different things that will help, or like different walk,
Some of those movement words? Okay, great. We're gonna go back and take a look at a page in Owl Moon. I've got it right here. I'm gonna read it to you one time and then I'm gonna give you a copy of it, okay? You don't need one right now? No. Okay. So, we'll read the page before. Give us an idea. Remind us about what we were talking about in here. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, Piper, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. Okay, this is the page I want you to pay special attention to. What do you notice the author is doing? And you've got some ideas you can look at right up there. No, thank you, James. This next page. Okay. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask. Then he called, hoo, 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 hoo. The sound of a great horned owl. Hoo, 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 hoo. I'm going to give you a copy of that page I just read. I want you to find a place on that page where the author uses sound words. Paper, can you find a place on that page and put your finger on it where the author uses sound words? James, can you do that job? Can you put your finger on?
What's sad is that you're learn it in the pictures. So
Can you do your job and find where the author uses sound words? Put your finger on it, please. He used a colon. Oh my gosh, you noticed that from writing. Awesome. Do you find it too? Can you find a place where the author uses small movements? You can highlight it. You can highlight it if you want. Can you find another spot? Can you find another spot where the author uses like movements? Someone's moving just a bit. Small movements. James found a spot. Can you highlight it, James? Yep, that's where the author used sound words. Can you find a spot where the author used movement? Piper? Look right in here. Do you notice something right in this area? Look for. No, don't just highlight without reading. Sometimes we have to reread. Reread starting right here. Start right here.
I thought right, so I said,
What did you mark there, James? I think you found it right away. What did you mark for your place where the author was using small movements? He looked up. Show me what that would look like. Show me what that looks like. If he's looking up, searching, show me what that looks like. Piper, show me what that looks like. Look up and search. Show me, using your head. Piper, show me, look up. And he's searching around, he's looking around, yeah. Can you find any examples there where the author uses like really descriptive words to try to make something look really clear to you? Where does he make a picture really clear to you? Like, wow, he used some literary language. We talked about literary language. Where did he use that in here? Can you find that, James? Yeah. Literary language. Descriptive, really descriptive words.
A great horned owl.
Does that help you? Does that help you to know what kind of an owl it was? What do you, when you hear a great horned owl, what do you picture in your head?
More or less as
What do you see though? What does the owl look like to you?
I'm gonna get as possible one is wings with a glorious is possible is the belly.
So it's, do you think it's big or small? It's called a great horned owl. Great horned owl.
I'm gonna go with more or less with small is big.
My
Like it
husband.
looks like it used to be big, but it got smaller with my
Because it got older? Oh, okay. Kimante, can you tell us about what you highlighted? Piper, are you ready to listen to Kimante? Is that what you highlighted too, Olivia? Can you tell me, can you add on to that? Why did you highlight that? What does that mean to you if an author says, the moon made his face into a silver mask? Yeah. James, do you agree with her? Like he was looking at the moon and like the moon was casting a shadow or a glow on his face that almost made it look like he was wearing a mask made of silver. Do you notice anything else in those pages that helps you to really see what's going on? Anything else? Can you start at the beginning and read it again? Sometimes we just have to reread things. James, can you start to reread too? Yeah. Piper, can you read from the beginning? See if you can find anything else. Oh, I just heard Kimante say, ooh. So I think he might have found something else. What did you find? A small movement. Show me what it would look like. Yeah, it's his Pa held up his hand. Pa held up his hand.
This is more of a description.
Notice that too. What about this part right here where it says we reached the line of pine trees? Can you think about what that would look like? It would just be a straight line.
A movement.
Did you find another one? Oh, because they actually got there. Yeah, I can see why that. Yeah. Okay, James, do you know what you're supposed to do in your work today when you're back at your seat?
I go with white on sticky notes, words in my book that are more or less descriptive and movement.
Okay.
Stuff like
If
that.
you can't remember what you're looking for, where can you look?
Like this.
Well, I don't know if this would help you, but I know something else that would help you.
Yeah, also that.
How about that? Yeah. You and I are going to read your book together in just a minute, okay? Can you get it out and find your spot? And I'll be right there. Kimante, can you tell me what you're going to work on when you go back to your book?
Wait, stop for a second. Like where he is like a movement.
Okay. And if you don't remember what you're supposed to do, where can you look?
Right there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Piper, do you know what you're supposed to do today? Will you find your spot in your book, please? Great. You looking though? If you can't remember, do you know where to go? Can't remember what things you're looking for, do you know where to go? Surely her mother would not object to a nutritious hard boiled egg. What? Writing? Conversations? Conversations, is that something up there that you're ready for your book club? So you can read a little bit more on your own today. And you can sit down to the because you're going to put your sticky note in there where you notice that part. Boys and girls. Do you remember when we had those pretend shells, those pretend conch shells in our hand, and we would talk like this? And we would read to ourselves in our shell so we could hear ourselves? James and I just had a page in his book. It was just probably 3 paragraphs long, and we had to read that 2 times, and James is going to go read it a little bit more right now. So when you find a place where the author painted pictures with words, I want you to reread it. You can even reread it using your conch shell like this so you can hear yourself really good. You can whisper read it to yourself. Reread it. Notice again and again what the author does in that part. Okay? Rereading helps us to look even more closely at all of the different craft moves that the author is making. And it helps us to understand our book even better. Okay? All right, keep going. So I want you to read this for examination, and you can have a choice book, okay? Oh my gosh. Have you ever done anything about how the author's pictures with words? Studying at all? About where it's helping at?
No, but do you? If you do,
Okay.
you're
Where? Can you show me that?
smart, then I'll give you time to think about
Is it back one more page because he's talking about lunch supervision? Right here? Is it back farther? Right here? Yeah. Start that enough. Now listen to this when you read it out loud again. Can you read it out loud? Starting right here. Right at the beginning, that paragraph.
The morning was so
What we just did today and see kind of how you're pushing yourselves, okay? This was the read aloud we just finished in our class, right? I have a copy for each of you, and I've got a copy for myself. We're gonna just look at the very beginning of Bunnicula, okay? I'm gonna have you all turn around and reread the beginning of Bunnicula. I'm gonna listen in on one of you. I'm gonna listen in on you as you're reading. And then I want to have a conversation with you about what we learned today, okay? How do authors paint pictures with words? I want to have a conversation about what you're noticing. Do you need a sticky note to keep track while you're reading? Up here? Okay. Right here to The Arrival.
What page is that?
Mine's page 3. It's chapter 1 called The Arrival. Go on.
Are we just reading this page?
You have a really well-loved
Are
one.
we just reading this page?
You're just going to read until I ask you to stop, okay?
Yeah.
So the 4 of you are going to turn around so I can hear Gage for a little bit. Turn around. Jessica, can you turn around?
I shall never forget the first time I played police. Now tired, old hours on our visit. I had been home by myself and played police. Now tired eyes on our visit. I had been left home by a family with an ambition which
That's a tricky word, isn't it? Okay, let's take a look at it a little bit closer. Look at, oh my gosh, somebody before you thought it was a tricky word too. What did they do? What have we got here? Admonition. So, boy, you pronounced it right. Does it help you understand it?
I don't really know what that word is.
Exactly. Should we keep reading, see if we can figure it out? Okay, go on.
To care of this, to care of the house.
take.
To take care of the house until they return.
Okay, so let's stop there and now think about that word. I had been left home by the family with the admonition to take care of the house until they returned.
So like,
Okay, so some kind of protection or direction to do that, right? He was supposed to do that, so they told him to do that. Like, please take care of the house, okay?
That's something they always say to me when they go out. Take care of the house, Harold. You're the watchdog. I think it's.
So you were right.
Yeah.
You were right when you were making your guesses. Go ahead. Do you notice, my mind is going a couple different ways here. Do you notice anything about our writing that we've been working on? Look at some of the moves
Well,
here.
there's what are those called?
Colon.
Colon.
Yeah. And then look at that.
That?
Yeah, that word.
Like it's different.
Yeah, it's different type of print. How do you think the author wants you to read that? Do you think that the author wants you to read that in the same way?
Like sarcastic, maybe.
Maybe a sarcastic voice? Let's go try it. Keep reading, and when you get to that word, make sure you read it like the author, you think the author might want you to read
Take
it.
care of the house, Harold. You're the watchdog. I think it's their way of making me up for not taking me with them. As if I wanted to.
Good, Gage.
Tony shouted, "Put him over here, Dad. Take your boots off. You're so
That's gonna be this one, soft to see something. Just try that. Right before this, if we're looking at how do authors paint pictures with words, Pete and Toby bounded into the room. What is she doing there? Which one of those moves is she doing there?
What science project are you doing? Probably small movie.
Yeah. When we think about someone bounding into the room, the author chose that word for a reason. She didn't say walked, she didn't say ran, she didn't say jumped, she said bounded. She wanted that to make a certain picture in your head. You could write that down in your sticky note to share out. We already started. Can you do some reading for me? You can turn back around, Gavin, when you're ready. Okay. Just go to right to the next line. Try that word again. Did that make sense to you when you read it? Maybe you'll see a what? Don't find in the books. But what you tried some sound. Try something else that can sound the same. Okay, you tried out something that didn't make sense, so now try it again. Okay, and does relative make sense? Maybe you'll see a relative. Have you heard that word before? No, so try something else. What could this say? If it's not going to say relay, what could this say? What can E say, the short E sound? Re. Now try. Relative. Have you heard that word before? Yeah, that makes more sense. You have to, Paxton, when that happens to you, you have to stop and you have to play with the word and think of all the different sounds you know and try something else out. Don't just keep reading through it, okay? Do you need a different sticky note, sir? Maybe just put it on the, I don't know why yours did that. Yeah, good. Can you reread it with that word in there now? You okay there? Now look at what's coming up next. There's a lot of tricky stuff coming up next too, isn't there? Yeah. But we know that they're talking about language here. I was able to recognize the language. And then he goes on to say, as an obscure dialect. And that means language, as a rare kind of language. And then this is the place where he thinks that's from. Okay? But if you don't know all of those words, like you can't quite figure out what all of those words are, how to pronounce all of those words, okay? That's a time where you can just stop and say to yourself, what's the author trying to tell me here? What does the author really want me to understand? And what the author is really trying to tell us there is that Bunnicula comes from a place far away that nobody knows a whole lot about, right? That's what he's trying to tell us. Can you start right here? And see if you can find some craft moves that the author is using here.
The little guy was shivering from fear.
Can you picture that in your head? Yeah, what word helps you to do that? What is she telling you that he's doing there? Yeah, he's like shaking, he's shivering. Can you imagine a tiny furry little bunny doing that? Yeah, especially you, your love of animals. You could probably really see what that would look like. Okay, you can turn around. I'm gonna listen to one more friend. Okay, Joseph.
Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't hurt that he shares his stash with me. It was, after all, at one of those late night type parties in Toby's room that I first developed my taste for chocolate cake.
What does that mean, my taste for chocolate cake? He said, you think that's funny, Card? Why is that funny? Tell me about that. Why do you think that's funny? This is what your share is going to be about. I want you to point out places in your book that you marked and show your friends what you noticed. If you did not mark a place in your book and you don't have anything to show your friends, then it's your job to be a really, really good listener when someone else is showing something. Okay? So I want you to point out, this is what I noticed, and explain to the people in your book club why you thought that was a place that made that movie really clear in your head. Okay? Let's take a look at accountable talk and what that means. If you're talking about an idea, remember these are the ways that we add on. We can say why. What do you mean by that? Can you add to that? You can tell them, I agree or I don't agree, and this is why. Give evidence. This is the one we're really working on, showing why do I think that's true. Here's a part from my book where I think that's true. And then make connections. Like Olivia said, that owl in that book, hooing, made me think of when I went to the zoo, and I could really hear what that would sound like there. Okay? I'm going to take this one off so that you can see both. All right. So I'm going to listen in.
What did you find?
That picture.
Singing, yeah. And then I found when they were, when she said that, I was like, also Jack writes notes. Wait, is it a pen or a pencil or a runner? It's
So do you think that's who they were comparing the dragon? Carter, can you add on to that? What were you thinking?
I thought like he was talking about that he knew that the person, like he knew that he was in a dragon or somebody else was trying to be a dragon. So right now this little girl pretended to be a dragon and came over to other pictures for okay.
Okay.
Because that's what you want.
Okay. It sounds like you're a little unclear on that part. Do you need to reread it? I'm not sure because I haven't read it. Because what we're trying to practice here is how when we talk to our friends about the same characters or the same books, it makes us understand our books even better. It makes us really understand what's happening when you can get another friend's ideas and you can add on and you can participate in conversation. And that's why we're trying to do that with our book clubs, and that's why we're practicing that. I thought maybe you guys would be interested to know that you're not the only ones to do those kinds of things. You already know I read in a book club, right? Right. And then Mrs. Humphrey, Kimante's mom that comes into our classroom every day, she also likes to read. So we were talking over the weekend, and I said, you know, I have 2 really good book suggestions for you. So today I brought her 2 books that I thought that she might enjoy. And I'm super excited for her to try these out because I can't wait to talk about them with her. There are so many parts to this book. That I just want to say, and then did you read that part where they, and then that happened, and didn't you think that was cool? I can't wait to have those conversations with her. And so that's why it's really important for you guys to practice your conversations and having those accountable talks with each other about what you're reading. Helps you understand and it helps you enjoy. I'm going to choose 2 names. I want to hear what your book club talked about quickly before reading is over today. Kimante, what did your book club talk about?
That he always worked for money, so then once that he, like it was this TV show, and then he wanted to win money, so then he cheated and looked in a book to see what the snake was. And then in Quintel's book, he wanted to win $50 at the fair, so then he couldn't pay off somebody for money.
Okay, so what does that tell you about him? What does it tell you his character trait about him? If he's competitive, great one, Quintel. Yeah, he's a competitive guy. Very nice. Okay, how about this friend?
Yes!
Oh, he hates to talk.
No,
I
I
better
like
find
to
someone
talk,
else.
but I just hate my picture getting taken. That's what you were talking about.
Okay, tell us what you talked about.
Well, in my book, I thought that, well, there's this little girl and her name's Mackenzie, and she's really mean to Elray's little sister, Alfie. So one time when she came over and had a play date with Alfie, then she was like, then she was being really mean. So Elray, or one day when Elray got home from school, Elray and his mom were talking about how like they were comparing her to a dragon.
And that helped you kind of understand just how mean this little girl was. You know what, I actually want to add that up here, Gage, because I think that is a move that authors do make. They make comparisons between things. Olivia, what did the author use this morning in Owl Moon when you and I were chatting? What was the comparison in there that you highlighted? You and Kimante compared the face to what? Yeah, the face looked like a silver mask, remember? So that comparison idea is something that authors use to really help us understand. Use comparisons. All right, we're going to continue with this important work tomorrow. Do you have a last thing that you need to say?